And what is surely one of the biggest upsets in the history of tennis, world number 3 and this year's champion at Wimbledon and the French Open, silver medalist at the Olympics, Carlos Alcaraz, has lost in the second round of the US Open. And who did he lose to? World number 74, Botic van de Zandschulp. This is one of the biggest upsets I've seen in a while. The first thing that came to mind was 2013 Wimbledon, when Roger Federer was the defending champion and lost in the second round, also ranked world number 3 at the time, just like Carlos is today. He lost to Sergei Stakhovsky, a Ukrainian player who was, I believe, ranked outside of the top 100 at the time. Maybe Rafa losing to Kyrgios at Wimbledon. Maybe Rafa losing to Rosal at Wimbledon. I wouldn't say Soderling 2009 when Soderling took out Rafa at the French Open. I wouldn't say it's that big of an upset, but it's definitely up there with some of the biggest upsets we've ever seen in tennis. This will shock many people. I'm sure this is sending a shockwave around the world of tennis. It's such a late finish. Maybe a lot of people don't know about this yet and are going to be waking up and hearing the news and wondering what the hell happened. These guys are both top 100 players, and obviously they're at different ends of the top 100, but it made me think about the great Novak Djokovic and what he said. I love to quote this all the time. In the top 100 of tennis, everyone's good. Everyone has great forehands, backhands, serves, returns, movement, you name it. They're all good at that stuff. The difference is, according to Novak Djokovic, is mental, right? And these two guys, they come in very mentally very different places. So Botic was actually, things have been going so bad for him this year. He hasn't won 2 matches in a row. I think he only has 11 wins this year, I believe, counting today. And none of them have come back to back. In fact, he's had to play in the minor leagues of tennis just to maintain his ranking. Obviously, we know what Alcaraz has done this year. Very different places, although Alcaraz, we just saw smashing the racket in Cincinnati, probably being pretty shocked like the rest of the tennis world when he lost the chance to win that Olympic gold to Novak Djokovic on the clay. It's definitely been a whirlwind for Alcaraz, going from, winning the French, going to Wimbledon, going back to clay for the Olympics, going to Cincinnati on a very fast hard court, and coming here to the US Open on a court that was supposed to be fast but is actually playing very slow according to the players this year. Botic probably played very free, feeling like, he's literally considering retiring from the sport maybe. He already won 1 match at the US Open, so he knows it's very unlikely he's going to win 2 in a row since he hasn't done it all year. He knows he's definitely unlikely to do it in his first ever night match on the biggest tennis stadium in the world, Arthur Ashe. Never played there before for a night match against Alcaraz. So he must have played pretty loose. He must have played pretty free, whereas Alcaraz probably feeling some pressure, looking like he's going to win out the year, French Open, Wimbledon. Everyone expected him to win the Olympic gold, and looking like he could win the US Open and maybe do a Carlos slam, win 4 in a row, and take the Australian Open for the first time ever next year. A lot of tennis fans were really getting ahead of themselves and imagining all of this. So imagine the pressure that Alcaraz must have been feeling. Imagine the frustration that Alcaraz was feeling when he just obliterated his racket in Cincinnati. Mentally, these guys were in 2 very different places, and I think that's a major factor in how it played out tonight. We will talk more about the match and what the hell happened out there in today's show. We'll get into all kinds of things about this year's US Open. But first, allow me to take you a little bit closer to New York City and the US Open.
Bonjour and hello. I'm internationally renowned tennis expert / super coach and European linguistics expert Matt Bradshaw. Instead of doing today's show how I normally would, viewing the best tennis tournaments around the world from the comfort of my home, I'm putting in the hard yards for you. Dashing off to the Dome tennis tournament can put a dent in your wallet, but your wallet won't be taking the hit for the US Open's outrageously opulent, overpriced drinks. Not to mention the overheated emotions overcoming the overcrowded airports. You don't want to deal with these headaches. You need someone to scout it out for you. That's where I, Matt Bradshaw, host of the most popular tennis YouTube channel in the world, emerge from the fallout shelter to relieve you of your tennis travel travails. From the rat-ridden, dirty, disgusting streets of New York City to the landed gentry's elite mansions of Forest Hills, I will personally take you slicing through Queens as we pay backhanded compliments to taxi drivers and street vendors whose service games only produce aces. Experience the wonder. Experience New York City. Experience tennis travel from the comfort of your home. Hurriedly hopping through the hallowed halls of legend, sprinting through the smoke-filled forest of Corona Park in Court 17. Sometimes you have to walk up to 10 miles or 20,000 staircases to see the tennis GOAT in just one day. This, and this, and this. This is tennis travel without mercy. Living off nothing but bagels, beers, pizzas, and world-famous pastrami. Let me and my brother be your gastrointestinal guinea pigs. We will show you the sights, talk the tennis, and of course, answer the big questions. Like, is this the end of the Novak Djokovic era, or just the beginning of his slam-winning golden years? We're here!
But should we have come?
Find out today on Coffee Break Tennis.
Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. I am your host, Matt Bradshaw. Super happy to be with you this late evening, almost 1 a.m. here on the East Coast. I was not planning on shooting or recording this podcast this late tonight. I was actually going to wake up very early and do a video for you guys in the morning, but that is not how things worked out with that Alcaraz match, huh? What a shocking result. After that first set, I had a funny feeling that possibly could we see an upset. You know, I've always liked Botic van de Zandschulp. I've always recognized that he was a potentially dangerous player. It's funny that he first broke onto the scene the same time Alcaraz did. It was the US Open 3 years ago, 2021. They both made the quarterfinals. And the next year, you know, they had similar years. Botic made the fourth round, second week at Wimbledon, I think. They both had some third round appearances early in the year, I guess, French Open and the Australian. And then, of course, I can't remember what Botic did at the US Open in 2022, but of course, Alcaraz went on to win it, and then their careers went very different paths. But anyways, speaking of career paths, before I go any further with you, I've got to tell you about a sponsor today, CoachLife Tennis. This is a great tool for tennis players out there who are listening to the show, so I really want you to check this out. CoachLife Tennis, you see like Juan Carlos Ferrero. He's out there coaching, sending signals, doing the on-court coaching with Carlos Alcaraz, but he wasn't necessarily the coach who developed the shots, the strokes, the weapons of Carlos Alcaraz. And CoachLife is all about those coaches that worked with top players in the beginning of their career. So like I'm going to show you the login page here. Check out CoachLife's page. Michael Kaznowski, he coached Iga Swiatek. Todd Larkham, you see him. He coached Nick Kyrgios. Here's Diego Moyano. He coached Tommy Paul. Riley Opelka also worked with Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz's dad is one of the coaches on here who obviously worked with him. If you scroll down, you see they have tons of videos here, hundreds of videos, all kinds of coaches, and they're always adding new videos and new coaches. Anyways, you can see how they break it down here. You can click, like, let's say Carlos Alcaraz is probably looking at this right about now. He might want to click on the serve since he was having a hard time getting the serve in. Maybe Botic van de Zandschulp, maybe he had clicked a volley earlier and was going through here. I'm kind of joking, but seriously, I play tennis a lot. I love that CoachLife reached out to me. I was actually very interested in them before they had reached out to me because I'm always working on my game in this massive database. Anytime I want to work on something in my game, including my coaching game, like this one right here, developing great players. Anytime I want to work on something on my game, CoachLife is a great resource and tool to have. So click the link below. There is a link in the description below, and that will take you there to get a free trial. Try the free trial, and of course, use my code CB for Coffee Break Tennis, CB, so they know that I sent you there. Or just use that link in the description below, and that should be enough as well. Anyways, going back to the show, back into this incredible upset we have. Let's just go over how the match started because, one thing that kind of bothers me. I love Alcaraz, don't get me wrong, but sometimes they talk about how, he's always smiling, he's always so happy. And, I always kind of thought, yeah, he's smiling and happy because he's winning all the time. And eventually things are going to get tough and he's not going to be smiling so much anymore. And Alcaraz was smiling as he went down 3-0 to start this match in the first set. He especially was smiling when he had a chance to run down a lob and try to hit a tweener between his legs, right? We know what a tweener is. Anyways, he was still smiling around then, and, Johnny Mac and Patrick McEnroe on ESPN commentating, they were still in a good mood and not really thinking there was any chance of an upset yet. After Alcaraz dropped the first set, I did not sense that they were thinking upset was on the cards. I mean, I wasn't honestly really thinking there would be an upset, but I've always thought Botic was a dangerous player. Like I was saying before, he broke out onto the scene about the same time as Alcaraz, but my oh my, have they gone totally different paths. Alcaraz winning the next year, and Botic ending up here where we were talking about before, where he's been considering retiring from the sport, which is pretty shocking. Anyways, in the second set, it looked like things could probably swing back, although, Alcaraz was missing so many shots, so many unforced errors, and we're going to go to the stats in just a second here. But Alcaraz playing better in that second set, but Botic very solid on the serve, even though, he's not really known for having like a huge serve, although he did rev it up and hit some very big serves at times in this match when he needed to. But one thing he was doing very well, and you'll see that in the stats, was coming into net. And something that's so important about net, it's not just how well you play at the net with your hands, but is recognizing when is a good time to go to net and then not hesitating to go. And that was what Botic did so well in this match that I noticed. He was seeing the opportunity. I mean, it was just seamless, It didn't look like he had to think about it at all. He just reacted perfectly when the situation was there for him to go into the net, and he won the majority of those points, I think 80%. So let's go. So for the match, let's go straight to the net points one. Yeah, I was right. Did I say around 80%? It was exactly 80%. 28 points won at the net out of 35 approaches to the net for Botic, whereas Alcaraz was a lot lower, 62, 13 for 21. Alcaraz also with the drop shot didn't do as well, and Botic very good with the drop shot. A couple times they had the cat and mouse style points with the slices and the drop shots. There was one in particular where Alcaraz hit like a forehand sidewinder slice kind of semi-drop shot, and then Botic sent one right back. And it was just surprising to see Alcaraz looking so out of it in all the areas of the court. Every shot didn't seem to be working too well. 61% first serve in, that's not a bad number, but Botic was higher, 66. That's for the average of the match. When we look at the first set, you'll see first serve number was lower for Alcaraz. Only one double fault in this match for Alcaraz, but it came at a terrible time. I believe his break point to go down a break. Was it in the second set? Towards the end of the second set? Anyways, win on first serve for the match, 60. Botic way ahead at 78. 52 win on second. And Botic actually lower, 41 for the win on second, especially in the third set. Oh my God, Botic's win on second serve was incredibly low. But I think he got 75% first serves in that third set, so that went a long way. We already talked about the net points, break points, one. Alcaraz only had 2 breaks. Botic able to break 6 times. Things were not going so well for Alcaraz on the serve today. That was for sure. 21 winners on 27 unforced errors for Alcaraz. A lot of unforced errors. And Botic hung in there pretty good. I mean, he just played a very clean match. Early on in the first set, didn't even look like he was playing necessarily that great. There was a point where he had a couple double faults in a row. He had seven double faults altogether with only 2 aces. But he has 22 winners on 21 unforced errors. So very solid. You could argue that Alcaraz playing so bad, like he would have said in that Monfils match that he lost in Cincinnati, was a bigger factor than Botic's play. But, man, Botic really did step up when he needed to. And he didn't fall apart like so many people would have expected him. Let's look at set 1. 53% first serves in for Alcaraz. Botic not much higher, but winning 75% and 70 on the second serve, doing well on the second serve in that set. Whereas Alcaraz was winning 29% on the second serve and 63 on the first. 0 for 3 at the net. This was one of the first sets I've ever seen with Alcaraz where he had 0 winners on 8 unforced errors. He had 0 winners in an entire set in which they played 37 points. Set 2, we move on. Botic, no aces, 3 double faults. Gets 66% first serves in. Alcaraz still low at 55. Win on first serve, 53 for Alcaraz. Win on second was 71. That's a great number, but 53 is not good. And Botic, 36, bad number on second, but very good, strong numbers on the first serve. 66% in and 78% win. At the net, only came 15 times, but he was 12 for 15 there, whereas Alcaraz came in 7 out of 8. That's pretty good, but not enough there. Again, like I said, this set was close, and it looked like Alcaraz was playing better. But then towards the end, Botic obviously able to flip that around. 13 winners on 9 unforced. Botic 9 winners on 11 unforced. Like I said, it looked like Alcaraz was going to win that set. Speaking of looking like you're going to win that set, how about the third set? Botic wins 1 out of 8 on the second serve. I mean, Alcaraz wasn't much better, 2 out of 6. Botic did first serve, both got 75% in. No aces, no doubles from Alcaraz. 1 double, but 2 very big aces. The only aces he's hit in the tournament came in that third set when it was closing time. 79% win on first, much better than Alcaraz's 67. And the break points, Alcaraz did get 1 break. There was another chance, and I believe that came later when I think serving 3-4 was that other break point we see there. Not because Alcaraz was down an early break in the third and then broke back, but then you see that 1 for 2. He had another break chance, and it looked like he had Botic, and then Botic came in and just picked up this little half volley at the net. That it was incredible. It looked very much like the kind of shot you would expect to see Alcaraz hit or even Roger Federer. An incredible moment in the match that stood out to me in that third set for sure. And then you were thinking, it looked like at the time, Alcaraz is going to break at 4-3. He's going to serve it out at 5-3, but no, instead we go to 4-all, and then Botic breaks Alcaraz for the 5-4, serves it out, takes that third set, 6-4. The rest is history. 7 winners on 4 unforced, 8 winners on 10 unforced in that final set there. Anyways, that is enough stats. You get the idea. John McEnroe said, look, you had a great year, Alcaraz, and it's just time for a reset, right? It's been a long journey. This is the worst loss that Alcaraz had since the very beginning, right? He hasn't lost in the second round at a major since he first started playing before his run to the U.S. Open quarterfinals in 2021. His major results were not so good before that run, even though a lot of people already knew who he was and had high hopes for Alcaraz. Not any special results at the majors until he made that quarterfinal in 2021. So this would be his worst loss since early 2021. So we kind of come full circle. The guy is still 21 years old. Almost, I have to check that. It's like, is that for real? Yeah, he is 21 years old. Do comment below what you think of this result. What kind of effect will it have on Alcaraz for the rest of the year, going into next year? I'm not saying it's the end of the guy's career or anything, but there's been a lot of pressure put on him for sure. And this isn't, it's a very shocking upset. But it's not the biggest upset, not the biggest shock to me that he loses earlier than we would have expected him to maybe do at the U.S. Open. And with that said, let's go to my draw. Because believe it or not, the genius did have Alcaraz going down early to Jannik Sinner in the quarterfinals. In the semifinals. I was considering that early. And, a lot of people said his draw looked pretty doable. He would have had Draper up next. I have him going against David Goffin, which looks like that could happen still. And the Demon, maybe Hubie Doobie. I had Hubie Doobie losing early, and he did ever since Wimbledon. Hubie just was injured again recently. What was in Cincinnati, I believe. Anyways, not a lot of faith in Hubie lately. Let's look at Sinner's side, since obviously we were expecting that Alcaraz versus Sinner semifinal here. Don't think we'll get that now. Obviously we won't get that now. I don't know who we'll get. It's kind of hard to say. It could be the Boatman. It wouldn't be a shock. He's been to the quarterfinals before here. David Goffin, I don't think so. Maybe Draper. Maybe the Demon. I guess the Demon would probably be your safest bet to be there. So Sinner looking good to get to the finals. Let's look at Sinner's quarter of the draw. Took out Mickelson, took out Mackie Smacky McDonald. I thought he was going to get Nicholas Yari, but that's not going to happen. Yari lost earlier. It is possible for Sinner and Tommy Paul fourth round. That could be likely. The court is playing very slow. That is the news here. We were told that it was going to play as fast as Cincinnati, actually. And that's not true. The court has turned out to be a lot slower than people were expecting. I think that helps Sinner in a potential quarterfinal matchup with Medvedev, which I think is likely to happen. I had Felix going pretty far. I actually had Tsitsipas losing early to Kokkinakis. Mental. The game is mental. Tsitsipas mentally in a bad place. In fact, he recently said something. Let me find what Tsitsipas said for you because I thought this was pretty incredible, actually. Oh, there you go. I'm not the player I used to be, said Steph Tsitsipas after U.S. Open first round loss. I'm not the player I used to be. When I was younger, I had such intensity on the court and the impression that my life depended on every match. Everything has eased and my level of consistency has also declined. I remember that my concentration was at the top at the time, but today that's not the case. I need to get back that hunger I had because it gave a lot of joy to my tennis. I don't know why it's gone down like that for the last 2 months or even I want to say a year or two. I guess I just managed to hide it better and do better with it. I felt that way since the beginning of the year. The impression also that it's the type of burnout that whether you take a break or not stays there because it's too late. It's something that I don't let go whether I play or not. What I'm most worried about at the moment is getting into this dynamic of victories and consistency in the last rounds of major tournaments like the Masters 1000s. I remember how strong I felt when I was able to replicate that every week. At the moment, I'm way too far from that level to achieve it. Again, I will read to you, I am not the player I used to be. This sport is very mental, and Tsitsipas has not been in a good mental place for quite some time, so I had him going down to Kokkinakis, and that paid off. I had Kokkinakis going to the third round, but he did not get there. I had Felix going to the fourth round. That's not going to happen either. But Medvedev did not look good in Cincinnati. Would have thought he'd like the fast court. He's just, I think it's been tough for all the top players who did the French Open, had a decent run at Wimbledon, had to go to the Olympics, and then had to go straight to Cincinnati. It's been tricky for sure. And Medvedev, I hope, is going to be able to take advantage of being on a hard court. Medvedev always has an interesting thing. He's so good on a hard court compared to the other surfaces. That's always interesting for him how his year goes. It starts off great. He's got the Aussie Open. Usually does well in Miami, even though he gets frustrated with the very slow, high-bouncing, gritty, sandy Indian Wells courts. He still usually does pretty well there, picks up some points there, gets a semifinal at least, or finals even. Then he goes through the clay and has kind of a dry spell. And, on grass, he does pretty well. I think he should do even better on grass. I think he will at some point. And then he had to go back to clay for the Olympics, so he probably didn't like that too much. And then, of course, he gets back on a hard court, and then things usually go really well for him. So I would like to think that he's going to take advantage and make it all the way to Sinner. Sinner is down in the head-to-head 5-7, but I do think Sinner will win, especially because the court is very slow. I think that'll favor Sinner. Unless, Medvedev is not exactly known, he's pretty skinny too. Which, by the way, this is such big news, Alcaraz losing. I didn't even remember. It made me forget. It was such a shock that the whole doping thing with Sinner. And I guess we can get into it more another time. I'm pretty tired. I don't want to stay up all night long working on this video. But I will say this. I was really sad when I saw the news because I knew that people are going to question Sinner forever. Some people are. People are going to talk about him because of it, and I think it's really unfortunate. People are going to feel weird about tennis, like not everything's on the up and up. And as far as I can tell, in my expert opinion from watching tennis for the last 20 years very closely, especially since I started Coffee Break Tennis, almost 7 years ago now, 7-8 years, something like that. My opinion is that this was handled fairly, that Sinner probably is innocent, and it was, he had the resources to bring this up with a legal team. He was able to point out exactly what happened immediately, which gave them a chance to respond to it. And I think it's very clear that Big Tennis prioritized Sinner because of who he is. So a little favoritism. I mean, if you think about it, it's not that much different than when it rains. These guys get to play on the courts that have roofs, and everyone else has to suffer. And they kind of earned that, right? Because, they're the biggest names in the sport. They earn all the money for the sport. They are the players that everyone who goes to watch the sport in person want to see. The people who watch on TV want to tune in to see their matches. So, like I said, I think Sinner is innocent from the investigation. It was very thorough. It looks like everything was done on the up and up. But obviously, Sinner had some preferential treatment here because of who he is. I would say he was prioritized. And, obviously, many people are going to feel like that's unfair. It is what it is. He is who he is in this sport. And I don't think, look at him. He's so skinny, like Medvedev. He doesn't look like the guy who's benefiting from steroids or whatever. It is very unfortunate, and I think a lot of people are going to have doubts about Sinner because of this. For a long time, we'll hear this come up. I hope not. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I think it is something that we'll hear about for a long time, and that's a shame. Anyways, we'll talk more about that in the future, I'm sure. Let's move on. Medvedev, very skinny guy. You don't think of him as being the marathon man all the time, but I could see the court's playing so slow. Yeah, Sinner's going to be able to hit some winners more easily than Medvedev for sure on the slow court. He's going to be able to hit through it easier. But maybe Medvedev can kind of do what Botic did, just not miss, hang in there, and let Sinner hit himself out of the match. Or more likely, what I usually expect from Sinner is maybe Sinner will start cramping up. It gets very humid at the U.S. Open. Maybe Sinner will fall apart if Meds can keep him going out there for a very long, brutal, physical 5-set match. Anyways, I think Sinner's proven, and I don't think it's because of the steroid. I don't think it's because of the steroid cream. Sinner has added the muscle, as we've heard, because of this doping scandal. Sinner has added muscle in the last year, and he's been working on it for more than that. For a few years, they've been working on putting muscle on him. It's been very tricky. He has put on muscle. He is a Grand Slam champion now, so I have him coming through. I had him beating Alcaraz, which obviously isn't going to happen now, but I thought that he would come through Alcaraz just because Alcaraz has been kind of in a funk mentally ever since losing that medal to the greatest of all time, Novak Djokovic. Let's flip to his half of the draw and then get out of here. Hit the music because I got to go to bed. I had Casper Ruud coming through. He has been coming through so far. Bublik went down, didn't have that one. Never a shock when Bublik goes down early. Fritz I had coming through there, so I was right about that. Humbert didn't go as far as I thought. Ruud is 2-0 against Fritz. I would like Fritz against Ruud, but courts, Ruud's been good here before when the court was playing fast. This court always bounces higher. That's why Rafa likes it. It's playing fast. It's playing slow and bouncy. I think Ruud will like that. I think that'll hurt Fritz's chances. So I got Ruud coming through, making it a 3-0 head-to-head. Nakashima, yep, I called that on Holger Rune. Another guy with the mental. The mental seems to be off. Maybe something to do with his mother being very involved in his career. He's a mama boy, as they say. Gazzo, I had him going to second round and losing to Nakashima. Perfect pick, if I may point that out. Musetti. I like Musetti to keep going. Musetti, you saw in the intro, hitting that ace when he won against Kecmanovic. Zverev, I like Zverev to do well here. I think Zverev comes through and loses in the semi to Novak Djokovic. Rublev, I got him going and losing to Dimitrov. Dimitrov, I believe, is going to pull even in their head-to-head 4-4. Shelton, I think we get the rematch. He hung the phone up, if you'll remember. He started that last year against TFO. TFO should get his revenge, but I have so little faith in TFO. This was a tough one for me to pick. I wanted to say TFO is going to get his revenge for the phone hang-up last year, but I think long-term, Shelton's going to have a better career than TFO, and I have Joker and Shelton having the hang-up the phone rematch. I'm very curious to see if TFO wins, does he hang up the phone? If Shelton wins, is he going to bring the phone back? Will he bring the phone back if he beats Djokovic? Will Djokovic hang the phone up on him a second time? I sure hope that's what happens. Shelton 0-1 against Djokovic. The one loss coming when the phone was hung up on him. Laszlo Djere, he's had some really close matches with Djokovic. A lot of people thought maybe another one of those is coming. Joker haters were getting really excited, thinking maybe Djere will finally beat him. And I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking maybe this is the time where Djere's due for a beatdown from Joker. And Joker won that pretty easy. He had some kind of injury, of course. Popyrin, same deal. The last couple times they played, and let me bring up their head-to-head really quick. Last couple times they played, Wimbledon and the Australian Open, both this year, the matches have been pretty close. Djokovic winning at the Aussie 6-3, 4-6, 7-6, 6-3. And losing the first set at Wimbledon this year, 4-6, then winning 6-3, 6-4, 7-6. You may remember those matches from this year. I'm going to go with the same trend from what I was predicting for Djere. Tomorrow, Joker plays. Big poppin'. And I think what is going to happen is Joker is going to say, all right, I've had enough of the close matches with you, and take him out in straight sets. It is going to be slower than the Australian Open for sure. I would say probably slower than how Wimbledon plays. Bouncing higher, that does change things a little bit, but I like Djokovic to come through for sure, and I think maybe Joker can finish it in 3. He is yet to drop a set. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. We will be back, probably not tomorrow. We'll be back on Saturday and catch you up on the latest. Good luck trying to go to sleep after that shocking upset against Carlos Alcaraz. I think I'll be okay. I'll probably pass out. Thanks to CoachLife Tennis for sponsoring today's show. They have a great product, so I encourage you to, again, click on my link in the description below and go visit their page if you are interested in improving your tennis like I am. See you!